Yo, what's going on? I'm Kamikazi underscore RL on YouTube, also known as Kamikaze in the Rocket League scene. But I'm a coach. I've been doing coaching for years. I kind of more committed towards this season into trying to grow my coaching into at least bubble level, if you know what that means, which is like kind of on either semi or under semi pro. But I'm here today to analyze the game between it's one of the games in the GENG G2 series in the final regional. This should be game 3, I'm pretty sure. If not, it's game 1 potentially, but let's begin with it. With kickoff, beat, play float. So one thing we're going to see here, this is one thing I've been seeing a lot more in G2's gameplay. So after a kickoff, they win it. Chronic tries to get it out. We have Daniel here playing it forward, which he's doing a good touch. He's trying to make sure to keep it pressure. First killer is going to push up. But as you see Atomic, a lot of times you'll see in certain levels of coaching, a lot of coaches will end up either telling you to play further back here, maybe not as close to mid, especially when you're last. You have beast mode over here. He's in their corner. But a lot of coaches will end up trying to coach you otherwise. But in this situation, like we see, Atomic plays straight on the line across due to their faith in each other and their ability to guarantee touches. This is why G2 is able to constantly, you'll see in regionals, force balls, make sure they prevent this ball from just being a clear into their net. If anything, maybe a clear to the sides instead of straight into their net. So as we go into this even more, you'll see Daniel tries to get a pop through FK. Can't get it. And like I said, Atomic comes sweeping. He doesn't get a touch, but he still forces it. Him knowing that, like, in comparison to what you'll see some people, like, trying to come up to pro do, what they a lot of times like to do when they see that maybe their teammates are taking back here, they'll try to play passive. They won't instantly go, which in the end, a lot of times leads to hesitation and mistakes, which sometimes it's not bad if, like, the ball ends up going here, you play time, you fall off, you take it. But most of the times what happens is when you don't go for this and it goes there, if the player can follow, all that pressure you just had a potential of generating dies. It just fizzles out. But with Atomic going here, beast mode rotating straight back through a ball side rotation, which, by the way, ball side rotation isn't always bad. Some people might think it is. It's just in most situations, if you have a teammate back, you don't want to ball side rotate in the sense of you getting in their way. In this situation, it's not, because Atomic's just hard forcing instantly, and B mode sees that. So we have a 50. As we see, the ball still not towards the G2 net. What ends up leading to with Atomic forcing is beast mode gets a turn immediately. And then on the rotation back, since Daniel here, as we can see, Daniel's going to go all the way back due to both his teammates being able to chow the ball. Gives him time to get boost, as well as preventing the ball going straight to their net. And then let alone Atomic gets the force. Now we see both Gen G players in the way of each other kind of here. Atomic plays wall. Beast mode plays for potential extension. Not always guaranteed. Extension's a weird thing. You'll see sometimes people say it's really good to use. Sometimes people say it's bad. It's normally a good option. It's just you need to see situationally. Like, for example, if Atomic doesn't play on wall like this and looks like he has potential beat on Chronic, you most likely not want to play extension. You'd probably want to maybe play sweeper or find a way to get out of the play so then you can bring Daniel in. But in this situation, really good by G2 playing spacing and time instead of just trying to, like, rush and maybe force positions. Another thing we do see here from Gen G, though, which is really respectable by them, you have FK coming to sweep in. Both his teammates are awkward. And a lot of times you'll see players, maybe even if they're here, they'll take the longer route here, trying to play time to, like, stall a little longer. But FK sees that Atomic's on ball. He knows beast mode just came by sweeping. If he takes his time, beast mode most likely could end up getting a bump on him. So it leads to him doing this turn to cut in, which then generates the pressure on the ball so they don't leave the space for free opportunity. A lot of times you'll see with EU, they a lot of times like to lean into pressure and preventing offense of their opponents, which in this situation is what these two teams do against each other in this regional. They constantly make sure to prevent free opportunities. Obviously, you'll still see some due to just like the way that these two teams are playing. GENG trying to implement stuff this regional. G2 kind of laxed a bit. They kind of guaranteed they got their 2 wins. We see here a goal. So the goal here, not bad. This is more of like the way that Atomic's positioning here. I understand what he's looking for. This is where, like, in pro play, you'll see sometimes when a mistake's made, it gets capitalized on easier than at most other times, is when teams are trying to play for each other. Both these teams are really good at trying to trust each other and play for touches, so maybe Daniel here, most likely, I would assume, or if anything, Atomic's reading, Daniel either called this or just for him going up, he's trying to get this touch out. Either to the wall, maybe to bounce off back to Atomic, or further up so that Atomic can turn. Atomic is playing here instead of going all the way back because he's trusting the touch from Dan, which then he can instantly play it so then they can generate a counterattack. And then Beast Mode can do a couple things here. He might be able to pad, maybe sweep in. He could try to go bump if Atomic has a solo play, or take maybe any of the boost. But with Daniel getting not a good read on this, it leads to it being a goal because of the way GENG, especially you'll see with GENG, they like to play like close knit, like not fully spaced out at times when they're trying to alternate from offense to defense with their transitioning. They try to move as a unit, which is really good. Sometimes you'll see it's like maybe like this, like almost a straight line, just like one player ahead, which would be the first man. But really good clear by GENG. They saw that G2 is out. And good capitalization by Jack, playing for the whiff. One thing you'll notice with GENG here too is the whole, if you go look back at their regionals, a lot of times it just shows that they were trying to practice as a team, more or less. Like, even when losing to G2, they're trying to figure out a team-based playstyle that works for them. So then they don't try to just play into individuality, which isn't bad, but it ends up tending to be a problem when teams can just counter your individual ability. Beast Mode with the bang. Let's go back here for a second. So we have FK applying pressure. One thing GENG I did notice a lot of times, GENG likes to keep somebody on to disrupt the G2 transition. So G2 a lot of times likes to get the ball out and then keep the ball in the half instead of always trying to solo it. Like, you'll see G2 get their solo plays out, but their two options is either taking out slowly and working it maybe together if possible, or trying to get a bang out, follow it, try to use their speed as the advantage to apply the pressure while the opponent is trying to recover. But what GENG took into account this regional was trying to apply pressure on the person on ball so they don't just constantly get to do that to them, relieve the pressure that's on their half. So this leads to chronic forcing and gives an opportunity for their team to still retain the offense that they were trying to keep. And then Abjack playing online, just in case of for a touch. So even if it goes behind, he can adapt to it. We have Beast Mode with a clear. Here, the reason, I mean, we can look at Atomic here. 22 boost, smart for him not to go. This, if he had more boost, would be a good position to play it. He could end up aerialing straight up. Most likely, his best chance would probably be to try to, like, get this back down to either, like, Daniel or maybe get it across to Beast Mode if Beast Mode's playing for it. But in this situation, obviously, low boost, he can't play it, which is unfortunate. But that's, like, showing the one thing with their positioning. You'll see they a lot of times play spaced. Like, G2 is a team where they can play spaced or close together. They are all three capable, and the way they play is all three of them being able to do stuff. While you'll see things like Carmine, where they're all capable to do stuff, but their default a lot of times is having Vati and Rise enable, and then enable the offense and stuff, but with a Tau playing, like, the flex role. So he basically plays for what might happen, like as third potentially. We see Daniel control. Here's with the solo play, trying to break out. 50s FK, turns into pressure. Atomic insta goes. Beast mode plays. Good force. This is the one thing too. Really good by Daniel here. He gets possession. Atomic bumps Abjack, so nobody's on immediately. Daniel sees the opportunity, takes it out. A lot of times this will feel like a throw. And it is if you aren't playing for a 50 afterwards or keeping yourself near the ball so it doesn't just end up being like, oh, FK turns, he gets a clear. Well, a lot of times people will be like, oh, just don't like try to get the ball downfield every time. Which is true. If you have space, you probably would want to control it. But in this situation, even with the space, he still just tries to get the ball out, which is good because of the fact that he knows he can follow it. If he was just trying to get the ball out at that point, he'd probably want to clear high. But in the situation where he has the boost to follow, it's beneficial for Daniel to just follow that instead of just trying to play a clear out. So then he solidifies the offensive pressure. Now let me go further back here. Then Chronic here, taking 50. Really, sorry about the chair. Kind of old. But we have the 2B. We have Chronic beating Beast Mode, and then Chronic going into here, getting it by Daniel. This is how, like, the one thing with G2 is they're so used to this whole time is when they get pressure, they at least can retain it for like 15 seconds. GENG's ability during this regional to just, ooh, what a miss by Chronic. How's this? I didn't see this game specifically. But yeah, this situation here is more Chronic missed the freest net. Let's go look at his POV. Because, in a way, this should not be, even if you're on 0, like good 50, good beat. You know it's out. Oh, he didn't fully. He tried to rush the shot, looks like here. And what proves like the point here for shouldn't. FK, and then FK played really aggro. I think if anything, FK maybe instead of like play a little bit further back. Like, let me go from a high view here. So, clear thing here, FK is really close, which isn't fully bad to do, in a sense. I mean, Chronic had an open net, so this is on him. But if FK played, like, maybe more back here, or not even there, just, like, here, at the bare minimum, he could read that out bounce, so, like, he could play out to here. When you commit in the box, a lot of times you'll realize you don't have the time to react. And if Chronic does a power shot like this, for example, that ball's going to fling straight out if it hits the wall. So your best bet is if you have a teammate taking a shot, especially has the ability to put power on, even on 0, because you'll realize this with pros a lot of times, even with 0 boost, they still can put a powerful shot on. Like, no type of, it does not make them struggle at all. It'll end up generating into something really good. But then you see Daniel, Beast Mode. Daniel tries taking a solo play. What that basically enables is Abjack's going to wait because he's in the air. He doesn't want to fully commit as last. He wants to see if he can stall out so then he can chow when Daniel loses it. But the way Daniel lost it was to give it to Beast Mode, go for a bump. So Abjack's just awkward, has to dodge the bump. Free net. That's the thing with G2. They have, the way they play offense, you can clearly see like the ways they do it. But their ability to generate goals in so many different ways, not being maybe like a consistent thing like Luminosity, you'll see a lot of their goals are demo into something. GENG and G2 for NA are the two probably most creative teams when it comes to goal scoring individually. And then you have EU with literally their top 4. And then for Mina, top 2. And then for Sam's a weird thing. I'd say top 2 at them, maybe top 1. Complexity kind of consistently scored the same way. Like, they have the ability to generate. They just haven't shown. I watched the last regional, and it was just the Furio show. Good pressure. As you see here, G2 with the way they're going. Beast Mode air dribbles this. And some people would fall out here a lot of times if they're low. Like, let's check Beast Mode's boost. Beast Mode's on 3. A lot of people in this situation would either pad and like either come across, fall off, maybe go for corner, or just try to fall away. Beast Mode knows though, since he's leaving for Atomic and Dan is nowhere in the vicinity, he knows he has to be there for the play. That's why Beast Mode stays in, which is really good to constantly keep pressure. Sorry about this. But yeah, with him doing that, it allows him to constantly keep pressure instead of just losing it. Dan beats mid, Abjack plays it forward. As you can see, GENG's still getting pressure out. Beast Mode does a clear here, relieves, but then FK keeps back. This probably will go for, yeah, ping pong for a bit, because both these teams, what GENG is trying to do is stop the assault of G2. So they know G2's primary objective is to constantly keep this ball in. Try to be able to get themselves on offense and then be able to play into what they know they can do, instead of putting themselves on defense, which they have the capability of, but it's not their greatest strong suit. In comparison to like probably GENG, for example, they end up having a sturdier defense at times. Beast Mode beats, Chronic down. See here, good 50 by Dan to keep in. Atomic has to play patient though. The 50 wasn't bad. I mean, for where he was, it wasn't. The only downside of this 50, it leaves a free ball for Chronic, as we can see here. And Atomic plays back. Good thing Atomic doesn't push up. He plays time, lets it out. Here's the one thing I will say, like, which gives pros the advantage. You see, especially G2 in this way, and you'll see GENG do a lot of passing like this, like, first game of the Grands, if you go look. Abjack played the back wall and he passed it straight back down. It was either Chronic or FK after receiving the pass, and then it generated into a goal. But you'll see a lot of times at the highest level, pros being able to get touches and then pros being able to play off those touches, a lot of times end up generating really good offensive opportunities or counterattacks. And then Daniel's playing here at mid boost, so then he becomes an option immediately when this happens. Because then Beast Mode, what he could do as he sees Atomic banging out, if Daniel calls that he's downfield, or if Beast Mode uses his camera and looks, he knows he has a free clear out. Space-wise, it's open. Chronic's alone. And that's a one-on-one you would truly want. Not necessarily sure if he gets boost, but look. Plays out, generates offense here. Beast Mode follows to try to make Chronic awkward. And this is, like I've said with G2. This is more probably going to be into a G2 replay, if anything. Like, this is them losing. I think GENG played really good this regional. As you can see, force. Like, this is what I mean by the GENG defense is really solid, though, when it comes to it. So, Chronic forces. It looks like a bit of a commit, but he does what he needs to do. Get Daniel to try to force it. FK doesn't commit here, which is something you should look at. A lot of times, you'll see the person here just jump straight up, even though they have somebody behind. If you can sit there and just be an obstacle and you have a teammate behind you, you can let them go. Even though it's probably a little awkward with a half flip recovery for some people at lower ranks or even like in bubble, if you can get used to having like knowing your teammate behind you has the better opportunity, it can lead for a lot easier outs than you trying to force since you're closer. Even though you might be closer, you might have a harder child than the person behind you. Okay, we have a tap out. Good by FK save. And this is what I mean by the GENG defense. They know how to constantly keep somebody going without double committing, and even if they double commit, a lot of times it still leads to an out due to the fact that they know what the double commit will lead to. But a lot of times that's also through comms, which if you go look at a lot of the GENG comms videos, they communicate every touch they get, especially FK might not communicate as much as the other two, but the way that FK plays, it's very easy to read, like what he's going to get or if he's going to get a touch. But FK does, you will see certain touches like to allow their team to play off of them. For example, a lot of times you'll see positionally GENG plays off of touches maybe that you wouldn't necessarily think at the moment, but if you go watch the videos, it's based like FK or Abjack or Chronic will be like, I'm hitting this to corner or I'm hitting this out to the wall. So before the touch even happens, you'll see their positioning is played for it. Abjack goes, keep out. GENG doing their way to generate, which is good. Then here's the thing with G2. Good touch by Atomic. Good followed by Beast Mode. Their goal is to constantly try to get offense, also due to the fact that G2 does struggle at times to get the ball out, unless it's an easy clear into space, or they have the ability to solo, which teams like GENG do not give you the time of day. You're not going to allow Beast Mode or Daniel or Atomic to have free space. It would be a blunder by them. So we keep going. We have here good force by FK. Dan tries to go for the demo. Beast Mode beats. Atomic plays time. A little tricky here. So here's the good thing. So you have Abjack downfield, Chronic there. The one thing GENG really good at doing, receiving the ball on their end and being able to transition out. Daniel tries to play bump, with FK getting the touch forward, and Abjack being in the position here. Being in the position rotating here. Beast Mode has to force. Atomic has to read this. But what this also means is with Beast Mode having to force, G2 leaves a man alone. Which normally, if you see other regionals, G2 is normally pretty good at getting back immediately. But in situations like this where teams take advantage of demos, which is why Loom is really good at times at bringing the pressure to G2 and playing close series, is due to the fact that their ability to constantly get rid of somebody and forcing them into a 1-on-2 or something is consistent. Like, they'll consistently do it to where it just disrupts the flow of G2, which G2 can also counter at times by playing faster or figuring out ways to prevent, maybe having players play a little bit back or closer together, like the two people. So then having maybe the one person that's playing near not force instantly, but sit there and like linger. Like never overcommit basically is what G2 does to adapt, which is really good by them. Good 50, B mode beat. As we see here, we're going to have, Daniel forcing. G2 still, as you can see, trying to keep the ball in. They keep trying to force it. GENG receiving the pressure, just trying to make sure they don't get it ball in the half. It's more of keeping at the midline is what you'll see GENG do. And it's not that they're afraid to receive it on their end. It's the fact that the more that they make G2 have to constantly think of ways to get the ball out, ends up leading to G2 eventually making a mistake when they don't get the time and space. Chronic air dribble. Good by Chronic. FK beats. Now here again, we have Beast Mode just trying to get the ball out, which the downside of this eventually is when we try to get the ball out, his best touch realistically is trying to get it high and go out, so then they have to aerial use some of their boost. The instant that they make a mistake like this, where it's just straight down, Atomic, you guys are stuck on defense, you're not going to be necessarily playing for an outlet. It allows teams like GENG that are really good at just forcing a team to give them the ball, especially with FK here. Again, look at this. FK is playing enforcer. So he's forcing Beast Mode to throw, which you have two players there for free. At least shot on net, let alone just keeping pressure, which we see here. There's going to be a goal soon, so we can look into it. I'll go to the POV of probably Chronic after this. We have a B, and then here, off the wall, FK double, and then awkward touch, and then leads to a goal. So yeah, let's go off of Chronic's thing here. Or maybe FK. We'll do FK. Not here. Right here. So FK gets force. He knows... Even though here, it might have not seen like much, FK going here makes Beast Mode not have the option to drop straight down. Like, Beast Mode is just forcing this, and as we probably can end up seeing, he probably has 0. Yeah, he has 0. But at the same time, it makes it so he can't drop it to Atomic, because he sees Atomic right here as an option. But with FK forcing that, ends up denying the option to Atomic, because he doesn't want to end up hitting it to FK, and then FK maybe gets some miraculous goal. FK plays B. Good touch by him. Drop down goal. Daniel almost had the save, but Gen G's ability to generate in this series was like goals through each other, and also playing a playstyle that prevents G2 from just being able to get goals on you, because the key thing G2 tries to do is generate their opportunities through a lot of shots and stuff. But with their ability to prevent that, it then enables Gen G to find ways to open up offensive opportunities. Overall, we can see the two offenses through Gen G being a more transitional team heavy and being able to open up their opportunities through that transition to each other, and then G2 playing a way where they try to just, instead of like focusing always on that transitional game, tries to implement clearing and then trying to force pressure when they get on the offensive half, as well as having some solo plays back up their ability to get the ball of their half. But in the end, the team that is more confident on defense, I would say, is probably more towards Gen G, which I think through the split they've had to play against this offense, so it just helped them improve. While G2 a lot of times was able to just constantly apply the pressure, which prevented them from really ever being put on defense. So thank you for watching. I'm going to try to do videos like this a lot more. All of this first video isn't going to be edited great at all, so bear with me, but I'm going to try to improve it. And thank you for coming to watch, and I hope you enjoyed.